So before we get into this review, I want to ask you guys a question. Why do you think that everybody hates Kelly? Well, at least on Twitter. I was following this hashtag on Twitter just to see the moments that people were talking about so I can talk about them here in this review. And I just saw so many negative tweets towards Kelly, like calling her terrible things. And I get that she's abrasive, right? However, if we didn't have Kelly on this show ruffling feathers, what would we watch? Like, she keeps the show interesting. Let's discuss. So this episode opens up with Kelly and Shannon telling very different versions of what happened at the Quiet Woman. So Shannon, you know that she's queen victim, so her story is just like Kelly like held a gun to her head and, you know, was about to assault her and her children. And Kelly is extremely angelic. Like, she didn't say anything, she didn't do anything. She was being very nice to Shannon, and it's just like neither one of you are telling the truth. You are telling completely opposite stories of what actually happened, and I'm not surprised. And then we get this montage of Kelly getting kicked out of places, and honestly, that was the best part of this episode for me because I had no idea that Kelly literally gets kicked out of every event that these housewives have. Kelly has been kicked out of what, like 7 events thus far, and this is her 2nd season. That clip of Heather telling her to get out, I forgot about that moment where I think they were at this Japanese restaurant and Heather just had like a huge fit and was just, and I liked her, right? I really did on the show, but I felt like that moment she was really just showing her like pompous attitude and just like really like uppity and just privileged kind of way that she was speaking to Kelly. I did not like it at all. I think that was the worst that I, as a viewer, had seen of Heather, and I was really disgusted by her behavior because Kelly was, you know, ruffling feathers. And I don't agree with her behavior at that restaurant. However, Heather was just completely out of pocket to stand there. Like, Kelly is crying and she's standing there and she's like, get out. That was the one moment that I did not really like Heather. That moment, and I did not like how she didn't stick up for Shannon when everything started to like really fall apart. Because Heather and Shannon were cool in the beginning and then they had a little falling out and Heather became kind of a bully and I didn't like that part. No, when she becomes like this adult mean girl, it's very unbecoming of her. So I was that little clip of her yelling at Kelly brought back a lot of memories that I was just like, oh, we could have kept this one on the cutting room floor because I did not need to be reminded of how terrible Heather can actually be. Kelly is talking to her husband about the fight that she had. She's saying that she really didn't have an issue with Shannon, but she feels like Tamara was the one who really added fuel to the fire. So they have this conversation going back and forth, like putting 2 and 2 together. And then they both come to the conclusion that Tamara is the puppet master. And I absolutely agree with that. I have been saying that since she started on, not since she started, because I felt like she was being pimped by Vicky in the beginning, but Tamara has learned how this show works. And I'm telling you, when you are on these shows, like these housewife shows, and you are like an OG or you've lasted for several seasons, it's because you've learned how to play the game. And that is exactly what Tamara does. And if you follow the show, you'll know that this is true because at reunions, people are just like, you are so different when the show is off. You try to be like best friends. You say, oh, it's just for TV. We're friends. It's not really like that. Let's hang out. And people are just like, I don't want to hang out with you. You were terrible to me on camera. And now you're just saying that that's just for the show. And when the show is done, you want to like have joint birthday parties with our kids. Like, that's what Tamara does. And everybody calls her on that every reunion. I honestly think that she is a puppet master because Tamara is always the one causing any type of conflict or drama, which is not a bad thing for these shows. She knows what she needs to do to get a certain check. You know, for a lot of them, when they are the ones that bring the drama, that stir it up a lot. Like, if you've ever watched a housewife episode and there is one housewife who is completely like out of it, always causing some kind of drama, always the one that's being talked about on Twitter, that person is getting paid a certain amount of money to basically turn up a dry show. Hashtag Lisa Rinna. Let's be quite honest with you. She is very smart and she knows exactly what she's doing. When she's on the Housewives of Beverly Hills and she is lying and then she's forgetting things or then she's talking about the arrest, Lisa Rinna knows exactly what she's doing, which is why, mark my words, she will be in the center for this upcoming season. She will be in the center holding a diamond because she is getting paid the most, because she stirs up the most drama and she gives a a good show. So that is, so that's what Tamara does. I'm not hating on that, but I'm just saying that she tries to play like it's just for TV when a lot of people really get their feelings hurt. And so she plays these women, and then at the reunion tries to like chalk it off to it just being a TV show. And so I honestly feel like she is a puppet master. I feel like because she's trying to get her daughter back, she has pulled back from a lot of the drama because she's constantly in court with fighting, trying to get what is it called? Custody of her child. I think that her child is of age now, so I don't know. But she's still in court back and forth with this whole custody battle with her daughter. And Simon has used tapes from this show against her in court. She's trying to act a certain way, so she's getting baptized on the show. Everything is about Jesus. She's renewing her life. She's removing the drama. She's not getting in fights with Vicky anymore. It's not that she doesn't want to. It's because she does not want these things to be used against her in a court of law. Now, when this whole custody thing with her daughter is over, I guarantee you Tamara will be back to dancing on tables, to yelling at, whoever is, getting hard on her nerves at the moment. But she has to hold a certain kind of look now because she doesn't want Simon to bring these things up. So now she's going to try to keep her check by being the puppet master and playing these girls against each other off camera, saying something or not to another person's face, making a comment or saying something in a confessional, and trying to get some drama started without having her hands directly in it. Tamara's smart. That's why she's been on this show for several seasons. And honestly, she makes it a good show. You need the conflict and the drama to keep these shows going on. To Lydia and her mother, the Sparkle Theory. They are putting together a birthday party for her son, and they're talking about the guest list, and they're going back and forth about who is going to be invited. And then Vicky comes up, and then Lydia is just like, well, I'm not going to invite Brianna. Well, Vicky's not going to bring Brianna because of the issues that you guys had. And the mom's like, oh, it's 5 years ago. I'm over it. And I'm like, what happened? Well, baby, Bravo shows the clip of when Brianna's husband went psycho on Lydia's mother, and I never agreed with that. And then they cut to another clip of Brianna talking about after the party, she had to scrub wine and mud off of her mother's couch. First of all, Brianna's husband was wrong. That was Vicky's house. Lydia's mother was an invited guess. If they had a problem with it, they should have went to Vicky, who they did eventually go to, who had no issue with it. She was just really embarrassed. And I felt like her and Brianna were really, really scared. So I don't know if he was going through something from the war, if his mind was just messed up, if there were some issues going on, because they were both afraid to say something to him. Brianna became extremely protective. Vicky was scared. She didn't really want to say anything, but I could tell by her body language and the way that she was like stuttering and making excuses that something was not quite right with that dude, because everybody was freaking terrified. I was terrified. I was just like, I hope security is not leaving Vicky's home and leaving her in there with that dude going off on like a 70-year-old woman who put her old feet up. Like, I mean, she's been on her feet for 70 years. She put her feet up at a party. She was tired. They were probably in some hills that she couldn't really walk in because she's freaking 70. So listen, when homeboy went off on her mom, I was disgusted, and I was also very scared. And I did not like Brianna making up this story. Maybe she did clean up wine and mud off of the couch. I don't think it was as much as she was making it out to be, and I think that it was very exaggerated, and I don't think that it came from Lydia's mother. I believe that she was exaggerating this story to make up for her husband's bizarre behavior, because that dude scared me. That whole episode, I was just like, what is going on with him? And I think now, thinking back to it, it makes so much sense why we don't see him on the show anymore. Something is going on with Brianna's husband, because they keep him in Oklahoma when the show is filming. They make up these stories about him selling this house in Oklahoma for like 3 years. After that whole incident where he went off on Lydia's mother, you did not see him on the show like that. He was like in B-roll, but he was never really focused on in the show. And I think that something is up with him, and they're trying to hide him. Stay woke. So now we're finally at Lydia's son's birthday party. And let me tell you something. This party is extravagant and it's extra and it's something that I will absolutely do for my children. Like, I love how they have the red carpet, but the only thing that kind of bothered me about it was that there were like extravagant parts and then the rest was like basic. They had like a red carpet. They hired a magician. They had like, they set up their movie studio or whatever, their movie room. They set that up like a cute little movie theater for the kids. They had a photographer, and then you get inside and it's like 3 balloons, like 3 emoji balloons and like a few stars hanging down in the kitchen. And I'm like, listen, if you're gonna go extravagant, I need you to go full force. Don't hold back. Don't hold back. The ladies make comments about Lydia's mother and the crowns, because she has crowns everywhere and she collects crowns. And they make comments, especially Vicky, who was saying that the mother was insane. I took offense to that because, listen, I'm a sparkle fairy. You guys all know this. I'm also a dash of a unicorn. I like the idea of crowns. I like the fact that she's wearing crowns. I like the fact that she puts one on to make love and another one to cook. Why not? Life is short. Have fun doing it. Just because people don't walk inside the same lines that everybody else walks in doesn't make them crazy, doesn't make them weird, doesn't make them insane. It's just certain people love life differently than probably a large majority has been taught to love life, you know? So I like that about her. I really like that she is out of the box. I like that she sprinkles glitter on people when they want it, because Peggy was not the type of person who wanted that glitter on her. And I can understand. I love glitter sprinkled on me. I'm the only one in my family who prefers that. So I honestly get it. But I just didn't like the comment of Vicky making fun of Lydia's mother, like she's not all put together because she wears a crown and sprinkles glitter on people. Like, you know, people will call you insane because you date scammers. Shade. And I really didn't need to know that Kelly had a leaky vagina. No, ma'am. Because Kelly has a leaky vagina, she decides to get a vaginal rejuvenation surgery. I don't know what it is. It's something where she gets a laser stuffed in her vagina, and I guess like the skin is... My God, Kelly, why? Anyway, Vicky goes with her, and Vicky's just like, I don't want to be in there. I don't want to see anything. I don't want to smell anything. And I'm like, ooh, Vicky, I caught your little shade. She ends up going in anyway, and then she ends up smelling Kelly's burning vaginal flesh. So that's like, we could have cut this one out, bravo. We really could. Then we head on over to Shannon, who's teaching her daughter to drive. And this scene was so relatable to me because my mother was the same exact way when she was teaching me how to drive. My mother was like Shannon times like a billion. It was so difficult for me to like drive with my mom in the car. She was yelling and screaming. She was holding on for dear life. I was panicking because my mom was panicking so much that I just released her from her duties. I fired her, and I used all of my summer job money to hire myself a driving instructor. And it was actually such a pleasant experience after all the, you know, erratic behavior I dealt with from my mom. And, you know, I can honestly understand where she's coming from, though, because I'm the same way when I'm in the car with my little sister. I'm like telling her to check her lights, to slow down, to keep her car's distance behind her. So I get it. I totally understand. But when you are the one learning how to drive, you need somebody who's clear-headed. And it's best to get someone who is not a family member, who is being paid to do this, because family members, especially parents, are just erratic. So Tamara in this Erasing Family documentary, I'm not going to say that it's not a real thing. What I have a problem with is that I feel like she's being very extra. I don't necessarily believe Tamara when she cries. And here is why. It could be 2 reasons. 1, she's just fake. 2, it's a lot of Botox. So when she looks like she's about to cry, it just doesn't feel authentic because she has probably done so much work around her eyes and on her forehead and in her face in general that she just can't emote properly without it seeming contrived and fake and phony. Maybe that's what it is. But when she's crying about this documentary and this organization that wants her to speak, I don't know. It just doesn't feel real to me. And then my issue is you're crying over your daughter who is who chose to live with her father, and you're crying about how, you know, you can relate to this Erasing Family documentary and this organization and everything that they're doing. You can totally understand it. And I'm just like, maybe you wouldn't have issues with your daughter if you stopped talking about the issues that you have with your daughter and her father on national TV. Maybe that's the issue. Like, her daughter's not being sex trafficked. She's living with her father who loves her. I get that she wants to have her child around, but Tamara constantly plays victim, and there are two sides to every story. Well, three sides: your side, their side, and the truth. I feel like she is really playing this up, and I think this is the problem that she's having with her daughter, is that she doesn't talk to her daughter directly. She talks to her daughter through Bravo. Speaking of Simon, Ryan and Tamara have a really heartfelt moment. This is what I thought was real. That Ryan is a father and a husband. He's understanding Simon a lot more, and he's in a house full of women. His daughters don't listen to him, and he's just really struggling. And he was just thinking back to Simon and about how tough he was on him, and he realized that he was doing it to make him a better person. So he starts crying about how much he loved him, and then Tamara starts crying, I believe this, about how he was hard on him, but he was hard on him for a reason. And I just really like that moment, because I did think that Simon really cared for Ryan, but Ryan was a brat, and it was very difficult for him to say or do anything concerning Ryan, because Tamara was always that mother where it's just like, don't talk to my son, he is not yours. And that's fine. You know, there are a lot of moms who don't protect their children when they get into a relationship, and this child has a step parent who is extremely abusive to them. This was not the case. Tamara was very protective over Ryan, and I'm not blaming her for that. She should be. That is her child. However, I don't feel like Simon was really actually able to lead out with Ryan because of that protection. And also concerning Simon, I don't feel like, since I watched the show and when he was on, I don't really feel like he showed Ryan enough love to really make him want to listen to him. Ryan just felt like at the time that Simon was barking a lot of orders to him, because Simon was so cold. He never really showed any kind of affection towards Ryan. And I felt like if he would have gave him 50-50, they would have had a different relationship. However, Ryan does appreciate him now that he is a man and a father and a husband. So, they've come full circle, and I hope at some point their whole family is able to really work it out, because there's so much healing that has to be done. Then we cut to Megan, who I forgot was on this show. Megan, you better make your presence known, sweetie, because you can call Kelly a 3-year-old and a toddler and make all these funny comments about her that you want in your confessional, but I guarantee you she'll be back next year. I don't know about you. So y'all know Vicky is my girl. I love the OGs of these shows. However, Vicky and Peggy are bonding over loss. Peggy is talking to Vicky about her mastectomy, her double mastectomy, and Vicky in her confessional is just like, well, I'm not going to ask her any questions or, ask for any proof of her mastectomy or of her cancer because of all the issues that I went through with Brooks. I've learned with these girls just to not ask those questions when somebody is sick. Are you really comparing Brooks lying about cancer to Peggy's history of cancer in her family, her mother dying from cancer, and her finding cancer in her body and doing preventive surgery with the double mastectomy? Are you comparing that to Brooks being a lying scammer? Girl, no. I also think that it's very smart and strategic for Peggy to become Vicky's best buddy at this point. Because like I said before in my previous reviews, Peggy is not that interesting. She's very dull on camera. And I think with her linking up with Vicky, I feel like she will have a much better chance of coming back on this show, because without an ally like an OG, I don't think that she'll make it on this show. It's just being Vicky's ally. I think that's a better place for her to be than on her own, because she just won't survive. Bad choice of words, but she won't be back next season because she's not interesting enough on her own. But when she mixes with Vicky, they start to become a little twosome. That is very interesting to watch. Tamara is speaking at the Erasing Families organization foundation meeting, whatever. She's speaking for these people, and her family comes over. And what I wanted to talk about with this is, I realized that Tamara's family has a type. Like when they remarry, they have a remarrying type, and that remarrying type is Mexican, because every spouse that walked into the door was like some kind of Spanish brown. I was like, okay, Tamara, this family got a little remarrying type. I'm not hating, just observing. Tamara then has this moment about her mom not showing up to hear her speak at the Erasing Families charity organization donation, whatever this event was. I totally blanked out my mind. Anyway, Tamara has this moment and she's starting to cry and she's getting upset that her mom isn't there. And then in her confessional, she says that I'm upset because my mom did not think that I was worthy enough for her to come watch me speak at this organization. And then I'm just like, Tamara, did you not realize that you just said in your confessional that your father left your mother for her best friend who he brought to your house and to this foundation, whatever this thing is? You think that your mom will want to come see the man that she loved who left her for her best friend? Even for you, honey, that's just rude for you not to understand why your mom would not want to come and how difficult that would be for her. And then when you mention it to producers, you know that the cameras are going to try to get reactions from her. So for her to have to deal with all of that on camera, I think you could give your mom a pass. She really deserves it at this point. She came to your first when your father wasn't there. You didn't say anything about him. Now that you guys are patching it up, all of a sudden your mother, who has been there from the beginning, is all of a sudden this bad guy. That's really unfair for you to do, to make your mother like feel bad about not coming to, you know, see you speak when she's been at every other thing. And she just didn't want to be embarrassed because she probably still has feelings for your father and is still dealing with that betrayal by her best friend. I can't believe she didn't understand that. I cannot believe that she did not understand that and went on playing this victim. But that is what Tamara does well. Charity just screams privilege, guys. I'm sitting here looking at these people and I'm just like, okay. I get that Erasing Families is a big deal, but this seems like rich people problems. Anyway, Tamara reveals in her confessional that she ghosted on her dad when her parents divorced because you know, she sided with her mom because her mom was really hurt by her dad going outside of the marriage with her mom's best friend. Understandable. So she says that she ended up ghosting on her father and going to be with her mother and really siding with her mom. And she's feeling the brunt of that now because she feels like that's what her daughter Sydney is doing to her. You know, I don't know if Tamara went outside her marriage. Simon did allude to that and say that she was cheating on him with Eddie. I don't know if that's any truth to it. But Sydney is for some reason siding with her father. And I always wanted to know what was like really going on. But Tamara doesn't really talk about it. I don't know if it's ever going to get as down and dirty for Vicky to like reveal something about that situation, because for a daughter to leave her mother and go with her father, something had to happen. And Simon did allude in their divorce proceedings that he believed that she was having an affair with her now husband Eddie. So I don't know if that's the truth, and I don't know if life imitated art, or no, that's not how you use it. The sins of the father falls upon the child. I don't know if that's it, if maybe that's just coming karma, it's just coming back to Tamara. I don't know what it is, but we don't know if there's any truth to any of the allegations that Simon is saying. But it's really, really weird that Sydney is doing the same thing to Tamara that she did with her father. It's sad to see her realize that and just have it all come back to her and just really have to. It's a difficult part of like speaking about it to the world. I want to believe Tamara because as she's giving this speech, she's crying, and I don't know. Tamara is just so calculated. I don't know what to believe. But for the sake of just humanity, my humanity, I'm just going to believe that this lady is really heartbroken and not playing us. So I'm just going to take it for what it is. I hope that Tamara gets some peace that she needs. I hope that her and her daughter really patch it up because I know she loves that child. And for whatever reason, they fell out. But I hope they really get it together because it seems like this separation is really weighing on this family deeply. And I feel like Sydney is probably the core that they all need to just get back together. I don't know. I hope that happens. Anyway, that's where this dry episode ends. Next week seems to be pretty interesting because I think we get a little bit more of Kelly. That's what we're going to have at this point because Kelly is really the only one who will turn it up for the cameras, which is what we need now that Tamara has just stayed back and played the puppet master. So it seems like this season is going to be a Kelly and Shannon season, and I'm here for it. So if you like what you see here, please like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I will see you for the following episode of The Real Housewives of Orange County. Bye, guys.